Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations on comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Clevatess Season 1, Episode 11. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So immediately picking up where we left off from last episode, I'll stick with this side of the storyline for a bit, but we pick up with the king trying to throw Luna into the furnace. Now, if you didn't hear it, my thoughts last episode was kind of like, I thought it was like a necessary thing to keep the furnaces going. Maybe they need the blood of royals, but then I'm like, why is the king still around? I was like, maybe that has some correlation with why Luna's dad's not around anymore. I didn't know where this was. That was kind of my immediate thought. And it's like, oh, like, why is the king alive? But he says that basically every generation, the new next in line to take the throne has essentially future kings have to be burned in the furnace and rise from the ashes. But the furnace is a living entity. It's a sentient thing, and basically it controls the bodies of any future kings. That basically every king has to do its bidding, and that's why the king isn't dead. He's just a puppeteered corpse. Ironically enough, technically Alicia is too. But it's to a different degree where it's like he's kind of moving a lot more on puppet strings versus Alicia. Clint kind of still has puppet strings on Alicia, but hers are just kind of a little more loose. They're not as restrained. But basically this goes back to kind of what Dorel was bringing up too about how like the entire Heroes thing is like complete and utter BS. Because it turns out like, and we learned this from both the king as well as the princess, that basically Luna's dad, well, Luna's real name is Tot, his dad killed himself when he learned the truth when he was about to be, like, take up the throne. What he learned that, when he was going to go through the coronation, he learned the truth of, in fear of what the furnace was going to, like, I guess, make him do, he ended up killing himself because he went through it himself. So eventually he would have been used as a puppet to enact upon the furnace. And I guess not wanting to continue it by putting his son through that. Maybe he thought, like, if I'm dead, then this tradition might die with me. There'll be like, because the king never did it but to be fair, Clevatess attacked the capital before the whole ritual could continue. So, but like the princess talks about like her husband left a note saying that basically there are no true heroes. Basically, and it's like the records go back a little ways, but none of those records have ever shown over the centuries any like heroes actually beating any of the Dark Lord beast. And it's like, and even then, the older entries, like way back in the day, are so vague that it doesn't really describe, like, it doesn't give them any answers to. So there seems to be some falsehood, something being perpetuated. Because even the princess is like, why would the king send you out there knowing? Because like even the her husband, the prince, knew that humanity did not have the power needed to defeat demons. So it's like, why would the king rush you out there to your deaths? Then it's like, it doesn't make any sense. It seems like this is all going by what the furnace wants, but the question is why? Because I think even the king talked about like ending this like falsehood of heroes, but then I'm like, that's also what Drell is trying to do, or is rather the beast like that's backing Drell. I'm like, what's going on? Like, we're not getting I'm still lost on like what that purpose is. Why continue this for so long if it's a complete another BS, Why perpetuate this? Like, are these sacrificed heroes who never stood a chance? Was that always going to be a necessary function in this world? Like, these are necessary sacrifices. It has to continue for some reason. Or maybe it's reached a point where it's no longer necessary. So maybe that's why the furnace is okay with potentially ending it. But like Drell and beast that's backing him like have different plans in mind. That actually leads to this really interesting conversation between the princess and Alicia. The whole conversation about, this whole like, and it goes, I believe the title of the episode is False Hero, but like, yeah, like this whole story of like, what is a true hero and stuff like that. But for Alicia, even if the legends and all that are BS, she still believes in what it means to be a hero. That she's like, she could recognize someone like Drell, even aside from the fact that he murdered her father. Like, he is the antithesis of what isn't a hero, and like, she's like, as a hero, it's my duty to stop him. Like, it might have all been born from BS, but there's still some light at the end of the tunnel of being a hero, that it did mean something, because she's seen firsthand what it, like, you know, being a hero growing up meant something for her. And I'm sure, like, also in her eyes, she saw a hero in her father, an example of what a hero could be and what a hero should be, even if like the legends that have been perpetuated and all that is BS. There's still room for a hero. She still finds meaning in it and doesn't believe it all to be meaningless. It's kind of, she's attributing her own perspective on what it means to be a hero, you know, and finding that along this journey, and kind of taking that journey and walking steadfast ahead. Where someone like Drell drowned in despair upon like kind of seeing the heroism for BS, and he drowned in that sorrow. And once again, maybe having a beast like stoking those flames made you drown it even more, versus like, ironically enough, it was Clevatess that kind of reignited the whole thing in her to be a hero. She even says that to the princess, being like, oh, who, the person who told me this, she's like, I will make sure that you two never meet. But ironically enough, like, the person who killed her and resurrected her to be his like puppet is the one that kind of instilled it back in her unintentionally. But it was just kind of like, he's just very matter of fact of like, I never told you not to be a hero. If that's the route you choose to go down, that's your choice. And that's what reinvigorated in her. That's why like Drell had someone speaking in his ears, playing into his fears. Funny enough, Glenn ended up speaking to the hope inside of Alicia. He gave her hope, like I said, ironically enough. So then we have the king tries to throw Luna into the furnace, and I was like, there's no way Clint just like let that happen, right? It's got to be a fake, right? Lo and behold, it is. The moment he grabbed onto the king, he ended up switching the real Luna with a fake shadow version, and I was like, cool. Now that Luna is back here, not sacrificed, what is the furnace going to do? And so the king dumps himself into the furnace like, I see. I'm about to say, you already part of the furnace because you already burned before and resurrected. So I was like, are you going to come back resurrected again? But it's like, no, just burning away a tool it no longer needs. And then it's like, I don't need you to be my avatar anymore. It like, it rages out and it tries to consume Clem. But it's like, yeah, like basically the brighter the fire and the more powerful the light, the more shadows it's cast. So it's like, you're not going to like get through to me, you know, go ahead and rage all you want to. So while that's happening, Drell is making his way closer and closer, because at the same time the furnace had exploded, and from the outside, and like Gart shows up with Rod, who attacks, but obviously can't do anything against Drell, and he goes onto the counter. But luckily, Alicia's there to back him up, and the two of them have to work together. But even together, they can't do anything against Drell because he's too powerful. Like, if this was just him at his base, I think they would stand a chance. But with the power he's getting from a beast as well, like, that's just making him... I mean, plus his sword gets stronger and stronger with every, like, thing it kills. You know, so that, you know, he's just... His power scaling's on a different level, so... Like I said, I still believe he doesn't recognize that Alicia's in the same boat as him. Well, it seems like his situation now, in retrospect, like seems to be like closer to the furnace situation when it burns people and resurrects them, versus because like Alicia has like her entire body is not the blood. Like she's still, because I think when he casts that spell, he basically casts aside his body, so all he is that blood. That magical blood is all he is, versus Alicia still has her physical body and she's still human enough. He's kind of cast aside all humanity and all humanness to him, including his body, just to basically be that blood magic. So I think that is the differences between them. But still, I mean, they gave it their all, like shooting one icicle and Alicia hitting above it, and then like Rod making like one giant icicle and ends up freezing him in place for her to come down with a slash, splitting him in half. But once again, he's made out of this blood, so how do you really defeat someone who can kind of infinitely like heal themselves? Like there's got to be a limit to that, and it would probably involve Clint having to step into place. I don't know. I still feel like the princess's hammer still got to come into place, because like it's supposed to break the weapon, but maybe it's also because that was the thing last episode. Did she actually strike the weapon? But it might be a thing of she did, but the weapon is so powerful, it's so beyond the other weapons that it doesn't matter if she struck it or not. I don't know. Like I said, it could be a thing of she didn't, and maybe if given the opportunity, she could break it now. Sadly, Drell cut off Alicia's hand. Granted, obviously, it could still get reattached, but it's separate from her body right now, and it's like, well, neither the princess nor Rod know about her circumstances, and she's making sure to keep that secret. But he's going on his diatribe about basically the true humans are the ones who defeated. There existed some entities that predate what is now humanoids, the 5 different humanoid species, and even the demons. Like, there's something so long ago that existed. They're the ones who were the true heroes, but something happened and they disappeared, and all that's left are these, I guess in his view, might be these facsimiles of like the beast as well as like the humans. Like, we are kind of like the aftermath of that. And like I said, I don't know if this is something like perpetuating all this for whatever reason, but he wants to destroy it all and kind of, I don't know if he's planning on ushering like what world he's fully trying to usher in after the fact. But it does seem like Clem, when he gets to the heart of the furnace and sees that it's a book, is what's behind all of this, manipulating the kings, trying to, he realizes that he figures out what the dragon beast, like what he's up to, but he also he realizes like Zaftir knew the truth and never told me. Cause he's like, he's like, even I never really knew about the humans that defeated like predecessors to us. He's like, my memories only go back so far and I don't share any memories of my predecessor. And so it's like, all I've ever known seems to not be the case. Like, he's finding out that he's, a cog in this larger mechanism machine that is the way this world operates, that something is pulling the strings, and it's kind of like, so it's all been perpetuated BS. Like, it's like, are any choices I've made have been my own? Even like me making this decision on, the king doing what he did, me coming here, killing everyone, taking this child, and trying to raise it, trying to determine about humanity. To him, it's like, it's all meaningless. It was all bullshit, like, perpetuated by all of this. And he's just kind of like, it's almost like I'm done playing this game. It's like, how much of this, like, these thoughts have been my own, how much of it has just been these dominoes of things kind of, like, as the end song for the show is Destiny. Like, how much is like, oh, like, how much of it was so predetermined? How much of it was, like, my own decisions? Or, well, I just, ironically enough, was I on puppeteer strings as well as kind of my understanding and takeaway. And I could be completely, like, misunderstanding that. But Clem, by the end, is just kind of, like, walking away. He's like, I'm going back home. And, Luna's left on the floor crying. And he snaps his finger and releases the shadow and the book falls. So, what happens after that? We'll have to wait to see. Obviously, I'm so fascinated to see how this wraps up in the season finale. How they even deal with Drell. Because Gart is still nearby. He's just watching. So it's probably going to lead to an interesting conversation between him and Clem, maybe. Because it's like, Zaftir knew ahead of time but never said anything. I wonder, did they just feel like leaving? Like, because we're dealing with at least 3. Once again, what about the 4th one? They just don't seem to be as involved in this. So, what's up with that? I don't know. I'm sure there's still revelations to come, but I'm also curious, like, how this Drell thing, even if they defeat Drell, he's just kind of a mouthpiece and puppet for something else. So it's like, what's going to be the thing that brings Clem back? Is it going to be like Nelleru, or is it going to be like Alicia saying something to him, or is he just going to come back on his own, where it's just like maybe hearing Luna cry made him, it's like maybe then he'll be like, well, it's me making a choice rather than me just like feeling and thinking this way. It's just like I'm so interested to see like and understand his mindset going forward of like what, because there's no way it's going to end like that. Like, something's going to bring him back. The question is who or what's going to be that thing, and how would this whole thing conclude? I mean, like, what do you do? Like, the princess is there. Like, do you give her back her son? Probably not. Do you Do you take off with Luna, or do you promise to protect her son if she gives you permission to keep him safe until then? Like, do you reveal yourself to everyone to be Clevatess? Probably not, but like I said, I'm so interested to see how this all plays out next episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.